Okay, why don't you take a moment and just picture a chicken. We all have that image in our heads.
The feathers, the pecking, that sort of distinctive walk.
Exactly. But I want you to focus on the thing right on top of its head. That really vibrant red piece of tissue, the comb.
It's probably the most recognizable feature besides the beak. For most people, it's just a charming, maybe slightly comical part of the bird.
And if you've always assumed that the comb was, just some biological decoration, a bit of funky headgear, then you're in for a surprise. Because our research today shows this seemingly simple trait is a multifunctional marvel.
It really is. We're talking about a survival tool, a health sensor, and believe it or not, its entire dating profile all rolled into one.
So today we're doing a deep dive into what our source material calls the fascinating world of chicken combs. Our mission is to look past that superficial appearance and really extract the secrets hidden in that structure.
We want to show you how the comb's shape, its size, and its color tell this incredible story of adaptation, of genetic fitness, and heritage.
It's a story that spans generations and even geography. We're going to explore why, for a chicken, the structure of this one piece of tissue can literally mean life or death.
Absolutely. I mean, nature is the ultimate minimalist designer. It very rarely wastes energy on features that don't serve some kind of critical purpose.
So where do we start?
To really unpack this, we have to start with the three primary non-negotiable functions of the comb. These aren't just secondary benefits, they are life critical.
Okay, let's kick off with the one I find most incredible because it really highlights a huge difference between us and birds. And that's the radiator function.
Right.
I mean, when we get hot, we sweat. That's our cooling system. Chickens, well, they don't have sweat glands. So how on earth do they get rid of excess heat?
And that's where the comb becomes this evolutionary masterpiece. See, a chicken's internal body temperature is already higher than ours, around 106 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, that's high.
It is. So to prevent overheating, which can be lethal, they need a super effective way to cool down passively. And the comb is incredibly rich in blood vessels. The term is densely vascularized.
So it's basically a highway for blood right on top of its head.
Exactly right. That dense network of vessels means a huge amount of blood can be pumped to the comb's surface. And because the comb is thin, it's exposed, it's not covered by insulating feathers.
It's the perfect spot for heat to escape.
It provides this massive surface area for heat exchange. The air moving over the comb literally pulls heat away from the blood, which then goes back into the body, cooled down. It functions just like a radiator in a car's engine.
That's just a genius natural cooling system. But that brings up a question for me. Wouldn't such a large, exposed piece of tissue be a liability too?
How so?
Well, it must take a ton of energy to grow, and if it's so full of blood, it seems like it would be really vulnerable to injury. A single peck could cause a lot of damage.
That's a brilliant point, and it leads us right into the second and third functions. But let's stick with that vulnerability for a second and pivot to its role as a health indicator.
Okay.
That dense vascularization, while great for cooling, also makes the comb a sort of instantaneous window into the bird's internal health.
You mean it's more than just checking if it's red or not? What are we actually looking for?
Oh, much more. You're looking at color, turgidity, which is, how firm it is, and temperature.
Right.
If that comb is a bright, vivid, almost glowing scarlet red, it's basically broadcasting perfect health.
What does that signal, specifically?
It signals great blood pressure, excellent circulation, a high red blood cell count. It's a visual confirmation that the bird isn't anemic and is getting plenty of oxygen. It's like a perfect diagnostic report you can see from across the yard.
So a farmer can just walk through the coop and get an immediate, actionable read on the flock's health.
Instantly. And conversely, any change from that vibrant color is a red flag. A huge one.
So if you see a comb that's pale, or maybe bluish,
a pale comb can mean anemia, poor circulation, or extreme stress. If it looks shriveled or dry, that could be dehydration or a chronic illness that's just draining the bird's energy. You don't need to run tests. The bird is wearing its health status right on its head.
And because it's such an honest indicator of fitness, that has to tie into mating, which I think was your third point, the rooster-tinder aspect.
Indeed. Evolution loves signals that can't be faked. And a comb is what we'd call a biologically expensive signal. It takes so much energy and constant high-volume blood flow to maintain.
That only the absolute healthiest birds can pull it off.
Exactly. Only the most genetically resilient individuals can afford to grow and sustain a large, bright comb. It's a visual advertisement screaming, I have superior nutrient absorption, excellent disease resistance, and high testosterone.
So for a hen choosing a mate, it's not just a casual glance. It's tangible proof of good genes.
It's everything. For her, that big bright comb is non-negotiable proof of vitality. It signals that his offspring are more likely to survive.
Okay, so we've got thermoregulation, health monitoring, and mating, all critical. But what's really wild is that this structure, so vital for survival, isn't uniform. It's not one size fits all.
And that's the next critical step in this deep dive. We're shifting from what the comb does to how its physical structure has adapted to very specific environments.
So these different styles aren't just random aesthetics.
Not at all. They are geographically and genetically determined survival tools.
Okay, let's get into some of them. If you Google the word chicken, the image you get is almost always the same.
That would be the single comb. It's the classic look. A blade-like, upright comb with those neat, deep points. It's what you see on Leghorns and Rhode Island Reds.
Right, the quintessential chicken.
And it's large, it's tall, and it's fantastic for radiating heat in moderate or warm climates.
But, and this goes back to my earlier question, it has that massive weakness, all that exposed surface area. What happens if you take that bird and drop it in, say, northern Canada in the winter?
It becomes a massive liability. It's a huge risk for frostbite.
Because all that blood is so close to the freezing air.
Precisely. Those tissues freeze easily, which can lead to necrosis, infection, and serious injury. And that is exactly why breeds from colder places evolved completely different solutions.
Which brings us to the rose comb. Visually, it's the total opposite.
It is. The rose comb is flat and broad, almost bumpy, and it spreads horizontally across the head instead of sticking straight up. It often ends in a little spike pointing backwards.
And you see that on breeds like Wyandottes.
Wyandottes, Hamburgs, yes. By adopting that low-profile, flattened structure, they dramatically reduce their exposure to wind and cold. It mitigates the risk of frostbite, but still keeps enough surface area for cooling on warmer days. It's a perfect thermal compromise.
And the adaptation gets even more extreme with the pea comb. Our sources called this one the champion of cold resistance.
It really is. It's not just flat. It's these three very small, low ridges running along the head.
Super compact.
Extremely. The pea comb, which you'll find on incredibly hardy breeds like Brahmas and Americanas, is pure survival mechanics. The tiny size and low height minimize heat loss to an absolute minimum. If you need a chicken to survive a brutal winter, you select for a pea comb.
The structure literally saves its life.
Form follows function, driven entirely by geography.
That's amazing. Okay, so moving away from just heat and cold, let's talk about some of the more novel ones, like the walnut comb.
Ah, the walnut comb. Visually, it's completely unique. It's round, it's chunky and bumpy, and it genuinely looks like half a walnut shell.
And that's the signature of the Silkie chicken.
The Silkie, famously. And this is where it gets interesting, because while it is compact and probably offers some frost protection, it seems to be linked to other unique silky traits, like their blue ear legs and fluffy feathers.
So it's part of a whole genetic package.
It seems to be. So it becomes a powerful breed identifier just as much as a thermal regulator.
And then you have the really specialized styles, like the buttercup comb, which feels like a trait preserved just for its unique beauty.
The buttercup is visually stunning. It's a crown-shaped double comb that forms a complete circle on the head.
A wreath, almost.
Yes, exactly, with points around the outer edge. This is not a common mutation at all. It's pretty much exclusive to the Sicilian buttercup breed. It shows how a community can select and preserve a rare genetic trait until it becomes the absolute identity of that breed.
And the list goes on. I mean, just to show the sheer diversity, our sources also mention cushion combs, which are round and smooth, strawberry combs.
Which look like the fruit, yeah.
And even those bizarre V-shaped horns you see on breeds like the Houdan.
So when we synthesize all of this, when we put it all together, what we see is that these comb types are anything but random. The differences from that big heat-dumping single comb to the tiny frost-proof pea comb represent codified genetic history.
They're like physical records of where these birds came from.
Exactly. They're physical manifestations of the environmental pressures their ancestors had to overcome, whether that was intense heat or brutal, freezing cold.
It's this beautiful intersection of, well, evolutionary biology and agricultural history. It makes you look at a chicken and see it not just as livestock, but as this living artifact.
A finely tuned biological machine.
So I think that's the big takeaway we want you to leave with today. The next time you see a chicken, whether it's a Leghorn with that classic single comb or a Brahma with its tiny pea comb, you're not just looking at some red headgear.
You're seeing a complex, thriving system where the architecture of that one piece of tissue dictates survival, broadcasts health, and determines the future of the species.
Its history, health, and personality all wrapped up in that little red cap.
And that diversity leads us to a final thought for you to mull over. If the comb is such a sensitive indicator of both internal health and thermal needs, what does the incredible variety of comb structures across all these different breeds suggest about the highly specific, the very different climates and environments where the original chicken breeds first evolved?
The shape of the comb is a map. It points directly to the cold of the mountains or the heat of the tropics where that breed began. It's a reminder that physical difference often tells a huge, unwritten story.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you on the next one.